G'day cocktail lovers, this is something I don't think I've done before. A cocktail that combines multiple different rye whiskies. I'd had this one on my radar for a while to try. The original recipe is called a Jane Russel. The original recipe is called a Jane Russel. I didn't even think that was a tongue twister until I tried to say it, but you know, I haven't had anything to drink yet. I swear, I've not had anything to drink tonight. When I make this, this will be my first drink. This recipe does call for 2 different rye whiskies. Today's the day I make it because today I got delivered a new release from a local distillery that specializes in rye whiskey, the Gospel. This is their vermouth cask. It comes in at 51% alcohol, 102 proof, and I have a few of their special releases, and I thought, well, I'm gonna do a little bit of a taste off between them. I have 3 different ones, the vermouth cask, and this one, which is probably my favourite up to this point, it's called Legacy Rye. And this one, which is almost gone, because I've had it for a while, this is stout cask. You can probably guess, this was finished in stout casks, as in casks that used to hold stout, aka that really dark beer. I have not tried this one yet. I'm trying it in front of you for the first time, so we get that first time that that's released. Look, I'm going to pour this right in front of my microphone to get that great glug glug sound. I'm going to give it, well, first we'll do the whole aroma thing. This has like caramel and spicy notes I'd usually associate with a rye whiskey. But there's also something to me almost herbal in it. And we'll give it a quick taste. That is really interesting. It's got very bright, almost orange flavors in it. Feels really nice going down too. That is, it's almost like orange blossom in fact. It's like the orange zest, like when you squeeze the peel over a drink, which would make the perfect garnish for something that had this in it. This is really tasty. Now I'm going to do side-by-side tastes and smells of the 3 because the drink calls for 2 different ryes. So I'm going to choose 2 out of these 3. Which ones seem like they would go together the best? Smelling the vermouth cask and the heritage rye side by side was really distinctly different. The vermouth cask one has got a lot more forceful. I'm trying to think of the right words. Have I ever mentioned before how bad I am at coming up with the words for these tastings? The heritage rye has a much milder aroma than the vermouth cask, and much more traditional rye flavour. This one, I feel like you can really get the influence of the vermouth on this. This one is a relatively high corn content in the mash build, and I think that sweetness comes through as well. Both very nice. And now I'm going to compare with the stout cask. Again, much like the vermouth really comes through, I feel like the stout comes through quite well on this. It almost has a little bit of that bitter sour beer element in it. I think I'm going to go with some of the vermouth cask and some of the stout cask rye whiskey. This is a somewhat complicated drink. Besides the 2 rye whiskies, also has punt and benedictine, which is almost making it fall into Manhattan territory. Then it also has orange liqueur. I'm going to use my homemade blood orange liqueur. So when you put a liqueur in there, you're into daisy territory, and there's a little bit of chocolate bitters in there as well. Well, now I'm going to put it all together like this. In a mixing glass, we put 1.5 ounces or 45 mils of my vermouth cask rye whiskey, and then 15 mils or half an ounce of the stout cask rye whiskey. Then just 1/4 ounce or 7.5 mils of orange liqueur, 1/4 ounce or 7.5 mils of Dom Benedictine, and 1/4 ounce or 7.5 mils of punt, rounding everything out with 1 dash of chocolate bitters. We add ice to the glass, stir that for 20 to 25 seconds to chill and dilute the drink, and then strain that into a glass. I'm going to serve this over a big chunk of clear ice, and to complement some of those flavours, I will do a garnish of a twist of orange peel and a maraschino cherry on a skewer. And there we have the Jane Russel. Although, because I fiddled with the recipe, I think I'll call this Jane's Gospel to reflect the Gospel rye whiskey in there. And time for a taste. That is much lighter than I expected. Those ingredients go great together. In fact, considering I used 2 rye whiskies that are over 50% ABV, in fact, the stout cask one is 55%, this has got a bit of kick and it is incredibly smooth. This is a really interesting territory that's taking elements from an old-fashioned and a Manhattan and a Daisy, and somehow that mishmash is absolutely working. So if you are a rye whiskey fan at all, I thoroughly recommend you try this, the Jane Russel. Cheers!